Humanism. This is a phrase that I have just recently learned about, and today I have Steve Ghikadis, and he is the author of Humanism from the Heart, Building Bridges Beyond Belief. Hi, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I love this book.
Good.
I read it all. I got some notes here. What is humanism?
Well, it's basically a non-religious philosophical worldview, which places the highest emphasis on human well-being, compassion, empathy, scientific investigation, reason, logic, that type of thing.
So is it classified as a religion?
Technically not. No, it's more of an idea or a philosophy. But you can be like a religious humanist. So my wife considers herself to be a Christian humanist. I've known people who are Islamic humanists. It's like it's whatever you place your highest emphasis on. So, if you can kind of put the more importance on those aspects instead of the dogma, then yeah, that's pretty much where people come from with that.
Okay, I really like this idea because it leaves an open mind for anything, and there just always seems to be such a divide when it comes to religion that it drives me nuts.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the biggest thing is avoiding the us versus them narrative. That's pretty much what I was going for.
Exactly, because I did see, I'm going to pull out my book here. My favorite part of this entire book was we can bridge the gap between believers and non-believers by focusing less on winning arguments and more on fostering understanding. This doesn't mean compromising on reason or evidence. It means being considerate of the human need for meaning. I mean, I wish we had that just throughout the day, let alone when talking religion.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the thing is that, a lot of people place a lot of meaning on different things, and we're very emotional creatures. So, emotion is a big draw and a big part of our lives. So, it doesn't hurt if you put your emotions into something that's important to you, right? And it's the best thing that we can do is kind of find what our commonalities are instead of the things that divide us.
Now, what made you write this book?
Well, it kind of started from examples that have happened in my life. I'm married to a Christian, and I'm a non-believer, but there was a point in my life where I was pretending to be a believer to kind of get along and go with the flow. A lot of people do that. And it just got to the point where everyone was thinking I was a believer, and I felt like I was duping people, and I felt like a wolf in sheep's clothing. So I just got really angry. And I started lashing out at people and ridiculing people and their beliefs. And I started burning bridges. And I realized that something needed to change. I needed to find a way to have these impossible conversations and treat people with respect and kindness. So I discovered something called street epistemology. And Anthony Magnabosco was a practitioner of this style of questioning and conversation. And I reached out to him and I said, how can you help me with, finding commonalities with me and my wife and other people in my life.
I mean, it's great that to have these things around to be able to, like you said, help foster proper communication without, having hate on any side, because I think everybody's right in their own way, in their own mind when it comes to religion or beliefs, ideas of whatever kind.
Yeah, for sure.
And you are part of the Humanist Canada, the Windsor chapter?
Yes. So, I'm the coordinator for the Windsor chapter. So Humanist Canada is kind of like the umbrella group that oversees humanism in an official capacity over the country. And then we have chapters. And so when I would talk to the previous executive director, she asked if I could start the very first chapter in Windsor. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then it's developed into a community that we can now, we have a base for doing charity work and, outreach and things like that.
I get from reading in the book that you do speaking engagements at the university and various other places. How does it come across to people when they hear you talking about humanism? Yeah,
so the cool part is that not a lot of people know what it is, right? So it's kind of like I'm kind of their first introduction to it. And this is kind of why I make a joke that I'm like the token humanist that does these presentations at the university. So I've done a few interfaith symposiums, and what they normally do is they ask, can you represent atheism? And I said, sure, but atheism is just a lack of belief in a deity. I'd rather talk about what I do believe than what I don't believe. Mm-hmm. So can I also represent humanism? And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Don't know what that is, but go for it. And, at first I thought I'm going to be the one that's attacked on stage because, you hear that in the media. It's usually the non-believers that are getting all the questions and everything. But I was shocked the very first time I went up there, and I said my bit, and then, all the other religions said their bit, and all the other religions were getting more questions than I was. And I just had to sit back and listen to them kind of bicker between each other. And I'm like, this is just really strange. I thought more people would be, either attacking me or lashing out at me. But it's funny, I actually got more of the attacks from the atheists. Well, atheism is just it's basically just a lack of belief. So theism is about belief, and Gnosticism is about knowledge. So if you're a theist, you believe in a deity. If you're an atheist, it just means you lack belief in that deity. It doesn't tell you anything about someone's actual beliefs. It just says what you don't believe. And then Gnosticism, you can be Gnostic, which means you know something, or agnostic, which means you don't know something. So I call myself an agnostic atheist. But what I was trying to say is that I get more attacks on me from fellow atheists because they're thinking that I should be more harsh on people and their beliefs than I am. So,
were you raised in any religion?
So I was baptized Anglican, but my mom never forced any kind of belief system on me. She just allowed me to think for myself and, engage with other different belief systems and talk to my friends who had different beliefs, and I was able to just explore.
I was raised as Presbyterian, but the same thing. We weren't religious. We did the whole baptism, but that was about it. And I've gone to various churches with various friends growing up, and they're beautiful. I have nothing against them, but they need better seats. That's all I have to say.
Well, it's cool too because you can go to different places around the world and there's massive cathedrals that are really beautiful places, and it's just the architecture and the history of it is amazing. So just because I don't believe in something doesn't mean I can't appreciate the artwork and the culture and the traditions and that type of thing. So.
Exactly. I've gone to a few because of other family members and their kids, and they have the Christmas Eve services, and the kids do their little plays. And I really enjoy a Christmas Eve service. Yeah. It's really nice and it's fun, and I can get by it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just wish that everybody had an open mind like humanists do.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too there could be a trauma portion of someone's life. Maybe they've had a traumatic experience with religion or some type of figure from their past. And I think that does cause some issues sometimes when people are trying to think about religion being a neutral thing. I think sometimes they have a negative idea of it because of a certain experience that they've had.
Yeah. In your book, you've talked about that you have children, and obviously you have an interfaith family. How is that working out with the children?
It's great. We came to the conclusion early on that we wanted our children to be able to make their own choices and experience things from their own perspective, kind of like I had the freedom to do, which is nice. Yeah, so they're free to attend church services and do Sunday school and things like that whenever they feel like it. And then I also have kind of a non-religious congregation of sorts called Sunday Assembly that's in Detroit. And sometimes we all go as a family, and there's kind of a kids program there too where they kind of learn science experiments and that type of thing. So
what was that called? Sunday
Assembly.
Sunday Assembly. That is the first time I've heard about it other than reading about it in the book. Could you explain to everybody what that is?
Sure. So I think it was 2013. There was two British comedians, and they were on their way to a show. And one turned to the other one and said, "Wouldn't it be cool if we could go to church, but instead of God, just have a fun time and celebrate just life in general?" And the other one was like, "Yeah, why don't we do that?" So they created this thing called Sunday Assembly. They put a news article in the paper, and it was 200 people showed up on the very first day. And they were like, "Wow, maybe we're onto something here. People want to celebrate and get together and celebrate life and not have anything to do with the supernatural aspects of religion."
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Having it open to anything and just enjoying.
Yeah, and their motto is live better, help often, and wonder more.
Okay, now I have to go to that.
You can come with me next time. Yeah,
that sounds like really lot of fun.
Second Sunday of every month.
Oh, okay, so it's not every week.
No. So it's second Sunday of every month, and then also on certain days there's cuisine and conversations on certain Saturday nights. There's also a gaming club and everything through this. It's kind of like we're trying to create a community, kind of like churches have kind of had a monopoly on for so long. We're trying to get that happening in the secular community as well.
So are you involved in that as well?
Yeah, so currently I'm the president of Sunday Assembly Detroit.
Oh my goodness.
It sounds more important than it is, but no, we're all part of a team, and we're part of a board. And the previous presidents were both in the middle of having children right now, so like brand new babies. So it's like, okay, you know what? I'll step up and I'll take over for a little bit while they're doing their parenting thing.
And how's that working out?
It's going great. Yeah, like it's been amazing. I've met so many cool people. We even did a tour of the Hiram Walker facility, and we got to do like a tasting and everything. So they shut everything down. They brought us all in. We got to do the whole tour, see all the sites and everything, and then she brought us into a room and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll open any bottle you want."
Man, I wish I was there for that.
Yeah.
And did you guys enjoy yourself?
Yeah, maybe a little too much. Yeah, because I think we did have a dinner afterwards, but it was like, is everybody here? I want to make sure everyone got here safely. So.
That's so funny. So this book just came out.
Yeah.
And how's it going?
It's blowing me away with the reception that I'm receiving. There's like 40 5-star reviews on Amazon already, and It's blown me away. I think there's like 22 5-star reviews on Goodreads, and it's like 500 or so copies sold. It's in all the stores around here, the local stores.
This was just released recently.
Yeah,
so
March 23rd.
That's really, really impressive.
Yeah, I'm still like I almost have imposter syndrome because it's like.
Well, no, it is a really good book.
Oh, well, I'm glad. I'm really glad.
it is a good book, and I like
Good.
the fact that we have the glossary of terms, which kind of helps come in handy for a few different things. But then you have some different areas where you can really think and write, and I'm thinking, and then I'm going to be writing. But it was really nice. It kind of just said a lot about who you are and about humanism. But I definitely think that everybody should read this book because it's a great way to keep an open mind and enjoy stories. There's just a lot of really nice stories in here as well.
Yeah. And one of the reviews I got recently actually said that it's one of those books that you can hand to your religious aunt and they're going to appreciate it and they're going to be able to have an open conversation afterwards, which is really cool.
Exactly, because there's no putting down anybody or anything. It's accepting of everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what I really liked about it. And I've seen you are all over the place in Windsor and Essex County on different podcasts and on Dan McDonald's show.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I missed the one with Kyle. I was going to watch it today, the one with Kyle Horner.
Yeah, no, it was a good one too. I had KG Michelli on there as well, so that was
She's
cool.
been on this podcast.
She's great, yeah.
I have to get her book still.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Yes.
She's got a few books.
I want the Texas Road.
Oh, yeah. That's got some. She was telling us a few of the stories from it, and it was just like, it sounds a little crazy,
Oh, yeah, it's hard to say because I had been down there too, and you're not sure whether you're conjuring it up yourself or because of all the old stories and
right.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
And I am going to read this. In 2024, you were awarded the King Charles III Coronation Medal for your significant contributions to the community in Windsor, Essex County.
Yep.
How in the heck did that? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. Again, it's one of those things where I feel like an imposter because it just doesn't make any sense to me that that I would be awarded these things. But it kind of came about from a few of my friends had I guess put up letters or recommendations to say that Steve is helping out in the community. He's doing this. He's helping out the homeless shelter. Taking care of our street through Humanism Canada Windsor chapter. And I guess the word got up, and they presented me with the medal. So.
Oh yeah, I did want to ask you about that. You guys have adopted, Humanist Canada has adopted a street in Windsor?
Yeah, so it's Peter Street.
Okay.
Which happens to be one of the longest streets in Windsor. So they're like,
why
don't you go with Peter Street? And we're like, that sounds like a good street. Yeah, not knowing that it's, stretches like 17 blocks.
I had no idea until just now.
So we do it like a block at a time kind of thing. We get a group of, 4 or 5 people out every once in a while, and we clean up a section, and then we move on to the next section. And by the time we get to the third section, the first section needs to be done again. But it's an ongoing thing, and it keeps us busy, and lots of people on the street come up and talk to us and, ask us what church we're part of. And then we have to explain that we're not really part of a church, but, we're kind of doing the same type of thing as a church would.
And how is that received with the neighborhood?
It's good. I mean, it's funny because you sometimes have these conversations and people don't know where to put you in their mental Rolodex. They're like, is this person like a good person because they're doing a good thing, but they also don't believe what I believe? So like, are they trying to trick me here or whatever? And, we just have genuine open conversations and say who we are and what we do. And usually people are, smiling ear to ear by the time we have by the time we end the conversation. We're just doing it out of the kindness of our hearts, like I feel like everybody should be, right?
Well, then you definitely deserve this if you're also working with the homeless and over there in
Well, I appreciate
Michigan.
you saying that.
Well, it's true. That's a lot of great work, and it's great to show your children and to lead by example.
For sure, and then we brought them out to clean up the street. We brought them out to feed the homeless, and it's just really cute to watch them. We go every year on Christmas Eve.
I read that. Yeah. That's in the book too, and they love it.
They love it, yeah. And it's just great because they will give out compliments to the people that are coming up for the meals and everything. And it's just like these people have never been. People have never been nice to them. People usually spit on them or step over them, and my kids just treat them like they're human beings.
It's a great lesson that they're learning as they're getting older.
Yeah. And Christine, the owner or manager there, she always tells me, it's so nice that you bring them out because then they're learning these lessons that they're going to pass on to their kids. And then we're going to create a generation of kids who this is what they do.
That's right. So that's the soup kitchen is up, the one on Wyandotte? Yeah,
it's called Street Help.
So can anybody volunteer?
Yeah, they're really open to having anybody there. And it's funny because, she is a lifetime member of Humanist Canada, but she's also religious. So she's a Christian. And she's had priests and ministers there that'll come and they'll say to the people out the window, you need to do a prayer. And she goes, nope, none of that. We're going to feed people regardless. And she feeds people, whether they come 1 time, 2 times, 3 times in a row, she'll keep feeding them. She doesn't have any problem with that.
I think more people should become humanists, regardless of religion.
Yeah.
No, it's just a nicer way of being able to have a conversation without an argument.
And I think a lot of people are humanists, they just don't realize it because they don't know what the term is. And that's kind of what I experienced. Growing up, I was a humanist, but I didn't know that. And that's why in the book I say that it was circular because I kind of started off as a secular humanist, not knowing it. And then eventually came back to that and then realized what it was called. And yeah.
So are there plans for a second book?
Yeah, so I have a couple books coming out. So I have one set for next year, and it's called Preemptive Dadvice for the Unsuspecting Expectant Father. Because I have a lot of people coming up to me and saying like, oh, once I have a kid, I can still play video games, right? And I'm like,
Okay, can I have a copy of that now?
Yeah, well, I can give you a copy to read.
For my
the first
son.
draft.
I think he needs it.
But yeah, it's kind of to help people out, and it's also kind of to promote that dads are an important part of the family, and they should be there to help out raising the kids. And it's funny because I just saw a video that I shared with my wife today because she's always telling me this, but I always complain that I have a dad bod, and she always says, well, I'd rather you have a dad bod and help out at home than be jacked in the gym 9 hours a day.
That's true.
Yeah, so and that's kind of where I'm taking this book. It's like it's okay to be to have all these issues and wonder if you're doing things right, because if you're wondering if you're doing things right, then you're already doing them right.
I know my son, they're having a baby. It'll be born in December, and he's already got the dad bod going on.
Oh, nice.
He's going with her cravings.
He's got the pre-dad bod. That's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. And then I have a sequel to this book coming out probably the year after, and it's going to be called Humanism at Hand, Practical Principles for Peaceful Partnerships. I really like that alliteration, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you nailed it on the B's this time, so now we're going for P's.
Yeah, so.
Okay,
You get to pick the next letter, though, so.
Oh, my goodness. The afterword was hilarious here. I always like to start my presentation off with a quote that I jokingly attribute to Buddha. Don't be a dick.
Yeah. Because that's what it's all about, right? And you can say it a million times in a million different ways, but it's only, don't be a dick. It's just the way it is. That's the philosophy, right?
I think we all need to read this book. Go out and get it. Get it. See, there it is. at the local bookstores
Yep, all
in
local bookstores.
Windsor. It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. It's in the libraries. If you don't want to pay for it, you can check it out at the library. There's also going to be, it's going to be mass distributed to like Indigo chapters, all those eventually as well. It's just taking a bit of time to get there.
And you just were recording the
audiobook.
The audiobook.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah, so the audiobook should be out on the 21st of June, which happens to be World Humanist Day. So that's going to be next Saturday.
I had no idea there was a World Humanist Day.
Yeah, so 21st of June.
So what do you guys do on World Humanist Day?
Well, it depends. Usually what we do is we just get together and have a nice dinner. So we go to like Smoke and Spice or somewhere local, and, you know, I'm thinking about picking maybe more of like a mom and pop shop this time, and we'll go and support local and do a nice little shindig.
Sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. Steve, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on and giving us an eye into humanism and understanding that we just need to be nice to each other and don't be a dick.
Yeah, thanks so much. And, you know, I always say you don't have to be a perfect person, perfect partner, perfect parent. We try our best to, you know, live up to whatever it is that we are trying to accomplish. And, you know, Maya Angelou always said, we do our best until we know better. And then when we do better, or when we know better, then we do better.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Me either. That's why I went with her.
Oh, this has been great. And again, my name is Tracy Martins. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of YQG in Bloom. Make sure that you guys are all nice to each other. Get out and get the book, Humanist from the Heart, Building Bridges Beyond Belief. Have a good day.